Cool. So, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of the Happe Chappe Podcast. We have Kishan here, the first guest, which I'm
Hey.
really excited about. And yeah, we just got a few things we're going to be chatting about. It's going to be really, really cool. Super chilled, super chilled. So, the first thing I was keen to chat about was obviously in the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of news dropping about the Spider-Man 3 franchise. Not the franchise, the Spider-Man 3 movie in the Spider-Man
Yeah.
franchise. And the one with Tom Holland. And news broke that Jamie Foxx is returning as Electro, which was extremely surprising to me. So I want to get your opinion on that. And then also, what were your thoughts on Benedict Cumberbatch coming back as Doctor Strange? And do you think that potentially there could be other Spider-Man actors from the past coming back into Spider-Man 3?
Wow. Okay. So I mean, yeah. So when it was like, okay, Electro's gonna be the villain, or he's gonna be in the third home Spider-Man MCU movie, I was like, oh, cool. Who are they gonna cast as him? And then when I read further, it was like, oh, it's Jamie Foxx, and I'm like, what? What's going on? What is going on? I mean, first thing that jumps to my head is like some kind of Spider-Verse thing, some kind of interdimensional rip or whatever. It's gonna bring about like kind of like what they're planning on doing with Flashpoint. I feel like the same way that Marvel and DC are often even when they're like leagues apart in terms of like trying to do their team up movies and whatever. Justice League was a bit premature comparatively. Like they often they feel the pulse of like society around the same times with Batman versus Superman and Civil War and moving forward like that. So I feel like we're gonna get like Flashpoint and Spider-Man at the same time, and it's gonna be like, oh, there's like a whole bunch of different Batmans from all the different universes, and now we've got all the Spider-Mans, and then people are gonna be like, who's copying who? But they're both happening independently. Yeah, because I think I would really love to see Garfield and Tobey Maguire back, even if it's just for little cameos or whatever. And considering the fact that Doctor Strange is in it, and apparent like what is it like Scarlet Witch is going to be in Doctor Strange's next movie, right? If I'm not mistaken.
So as far as I know, the WandaVision series on Disney Plus, that's going to start off the multiverse like vibe. Then it's going into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and then I think Spider-Man's after that. So I think you're on the right track there. I wouldn't be surprised if like the next MCU sort of event is going to be multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
That could be cool, yeah.
Which they call sort of yeah.
No, because I think it would also be cool. Like, imagine we see like Emma Stone coming back as like a cameo as Spider-Gwen or something. That would be flipping insane.
That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And obviously seeing like the other Spider-Man actors returning would be rad as well.
Yeah. And I'd like to see Dane DeHaan back. I liked him a lot as Harry Osborn. I thought he was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the characters introduced in that second film, I wish we got more of, because we didn't get to see much of them. Even Rhino, like I know it was kind of goofy, but like it would have been like cool to see more of him,
Paul Giamatti, he's such a good actor. Like I would be really, and then that way we could have two J. Jonah Jamesons, and both of them are played by J.K. Simmons, and they're both like, "What are you doing? Who are you?" And oh my gosh, what if they do like where it's two J. Jonah Jamesons pointing at each other?
That would be cool. Like
that would be
That'd be amazing.
And then it would be like Peter's like, "What's going on?" I don't know. It could be really cool. But yeah, like so especially because Sam Raimi's gonna be doing Multiverse of Madness.
Yes, yeah.
I feel like there's a reason behind that somewhere. I think was it Scott Derrickson was gonna do it, and then he stepped away, right? But I mean, Sam Raimi coming in, I think, apart from the fact that it's supposed to be a little bit more horror oriented, which is like Sam Raimi's thing. I feel like there is a little bit more subtext to the reason why he's there. But there's a lot of clues to the whole multiverse thing. So like Wanda's gonna be there, Strange is gonna be there in his movie. They're gonna tear the multiverse open, and then by the time we get to Spider-Man, it's Strange again, and then Electro's gonna come into this. All the other Spider-Mans, and did you see Vincent D'Onofrio was like saying that he was keen to come back as Kingpin? Not that I think that would happen at this current time, but I feel like I would love to see him again. Yeah.
Dude, totally, yeah. And I also like I remember right like a couple months ago, like there was a lot of speculation regarding the Spider-Man 3 movie, and apparently like he needed like a lawyer or something because obviously
Yeah.
the whole world knows who he is now.
Yeah.
So there's also speculation that Daredevil in some form could come into that movie as well, or at least Matthew Murdock. But yeah, I mean I would love to see
that would be so cool.
the
Like I
cast
would
from
love,
Daredevil.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because Daredevil, oh man, Daredevil 1, like I love all of Daredevil. 1 and 3 specifically were phenomenal, and
100%,
like
yeah.
what's it? Bullseye was so impressive, and Fisk was so good in season 3. Like everybody was at the top of their game in season 3, and I was like, oh man, it just ended too soon. It was a tragedy.
I agree.
Yeah.
I know that was some of the best Marvel stuff like I'd seen in years, and it was such like it almost reinvented like the Marvel vibe a bit. So
Yeah, exactly.
I really
yeah.
hope we see those characters return as well. Yeah. And then so Spider-Man 3 is obviously going to be epic, I'm sure. After that now, like, do you think? Because I know in the third Ant-Man film, Kang the Conqueror is coming. I don't know if you heard about
Ooh.
that. Do you know?
No, I did not.
Kang the Conqueror. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's apparently also like a multiverse villain. So I think with all the speculation going on, like I think the multiverse stuff is going to be happening, and it would be really cool to, I guess, for the next event film to be like a Secret Wars film or something.
Yeah.
That could be amazing. But yeah,
Maybe that's how they bring Venom in, also, because that's because I mean Michael Keaton's Vulture showed up in Jared Leto's what is it, Morbius. So like what's going on, like
yeah. Yeah, and even on that, like, yeah, there's a lot of speculation. I think Sony are probably really happy about this as well because it means they can like connect all their spin-off movies into the same universe in a way. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Some really weird speculation
have you watched
casting news and stuff dropping.
Yeah. Have you watched Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt?
I think I've seen the first season. I haven't seen all of it though.
Okay, because in season 1, there's Titus goes to an audition for Spider-Man's Too Many Spider-Mans, and it's like this musical with like way too many Spider-Mans, and they're all doing like a kick line. I feel like that's gonna be that they're bringing that to life. Like I think Tina Fey was ahead of the curve when she wrote that joke. That's the only thing that I think of every time I see more than one Spider-Man on camera.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. But yeah, I think that's one of the things Spider-Verse did well. The animated film is that it still managed to make it like a compelling story without having like
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess we'll wait and see though. Okay, so moving on to the next thing I want to chat about, and that is Halloween movies, right? So I don't know, like I've got a whole list of films that I think are like classics in that regard. But are there any like movies that you like watching this time of the year and why? Like Halloween themed movies?
Before we get into that, what would you classify as a Halloween movie? And so where do you draw the line? Yeah.
I don't really have a line, I guess, but it's like more like scary horror sort of movies, I guess.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to take place on Halloween necessarily.
Yeah. I was wondering about that too, because it's kind of like, what constitutes as like a Halloween movie? The same way that it's like, what constitutes like a Christmas movie? Like, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Is Home Alone a Christmas movie? Yes, that kind of deal. So I wondered to myself, because it's like, okay, so if it's like creepy horror kind of vibe, I would imagine like it's probably like spooky, creepy kind of deal. So like I would say Jaws doesn't fit into that, even though Jaws is it's like a horror to an extent. Yeah. So I was so I made like a whole list of ones that like fit into that. Yeah. So
that's cool.
But firstly, like my go-to, like if because I do generally try to have a tradition of, even if I'm not gonna watch a whole like a bunch of Halloween movies, just to like commemorate, I'll try watch maybe one movie or like one of my favorite Halloween episodes from like a TV show that I love. And so some of like the top of my list in all caps is Over the Garden Wall. Have you seen that?
Oh, dude, that is amazing.
Yeah,
I actually want to rewatch that.
yeah.
That's
Me
a
too.
brilliant
It's
show.
beautiful show.
Explain to people who don't know what it is. Like, give a brief explanation if you can.
So
What do you how do you
Over the
describe
Garden
it?
Wall is, I think it's like 8 or 10 part miniseries by Cartoon Network. It's animated and it's like starring Elijah Wood, and like Christopher Lloyd, John Cleese, a bunch of like really famous voice actors who just have cameos and stuff. But Elijah Wood and his little brother in the show are the main characters, and they get lost on Halloween night, and they're like they fall over a garden wall, so to speak, and they're in this mysterious land that's like dark and mysterious and very creepy, but also very beautiful. And it's kind of like outside of time. It's like it's almost timeless. Like they're in like old timey, and sometimes they're a bit medievally, and sometimes they're like just in the wilderness, and it's just really beautiful, and it's got this eerie magical feel to it, and it's also very creepy. Yeah, gosh, I love it. I love that show.
I also do, and it does have that like autumn fall vibe to it
Yeah.
as well. So it fits really well in that Halloween
Absolutely,
sort of vibe. Yeah, no, that's cool. And any movies?
Okay. Before we go into movies, I had because there's actually a whole bunch of TV shows that
Okay,
are
go
more
for it.
Halloweeny. That I was like, because so Stranger Things season 2 is like quintessential Halloween, especially
Yes,
those
yeah.
like first 3 episodes. And I mean, yeah, like I think in my mind I just always associate them, apart from the fact that it was set during Halloween and it was released during then to coincide, is that like the first time I went to a Halloween party was like the day that Stranger Things 2 premiered, and I was watching it with my friends, and then we were like, okay, we got to go to that party now, and yeah, so a lot of that just in my mind and in my soul, I'm just like, that's Halloween for me. And then there's a whole bunch of like wonderful episodes of like TV shows that I love. Like Community does a Halloween episode every season, but the ones that stand out for me are season 2 with the zombie episode, which is so good, and the one in season 3 where they do the psych evaluations and they find out that one of the people among them is like insane. And so they tell scary stories to figure out who it is. Then It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has the Maureen Ponderosa Wedding Massacre episode, which is like their zombie episode where everyone gets spiked with like bath salts at the wedding, and they all start like going crazy. Yeah, it's one of their most unique and outstanding episodes. And Guillermo del Toro has a cameo in it. Yeah, because he's friends with Charlie Day. And so he just has, and I did not know it was him. He's dressed as like a crazy old man with a bird on his shoulder, and he's got like one eye, and he's just like and then they're all like and they run away from him. He's like in one shot, but yeah.
Cool.
So those are the ones off the top of my head, and then I've got a list of like just other ones that we can talk about. But what are yours?
For a series?
Well, for anything, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I'm a huge Office fan, and their Halloween episodes are always hilarious because they're all dressed up as characters and stuff. And the one season, I think it's season 4, it might have been season 3 though, but it was right around the time when like The Dark Knight came out, and like everyone's like in Joker cosplay and stuff. It's really funny. So yeah, there's some good moments in the Halloween episodes from like seasons 3 and 4. I'm trying to think what else. I think Over the Garden Wall is a good one. Actually, I didn't put that on my list, but I think it's an excellent one because I think it's like a really good story, but it also has that spooky element to it.
Yeah.
And it's very unique. It's like very different to anything out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else regarding TV that is good. I mean, there's some good Adventure Time episodes that are kind of like spooky.
I was like,
I'm a big fan of
Adventure Time in general. Just has a lot of like they've got a bunch of really good like holiday kind of episodes and Halloween episodes, and so yeah, I was gonna write those down, and I was like, there's so many of them. It's gonna be like
there's too many.
Yeah. So yeah, but other ones off the top of my head, well, not off the top of my head because they're on this list, so I'm okay. But like I said, anything Tim Burton basically. Yeah, so like
Yes.
I wrote at the top of the list Beetlejuice, which is basically just like, you know, that is the movie of the season, and obviously Nightmare Before Christmas.
I've never seen Beetlejuice ever.
Oh, what? It's
Is it good? I
fantastic.
should maybe I should watch that this month.
Michael Keaton is a triumph in that. Like everybody in the like it's Winona Ryder, Michael Keaton, Alec Baldwin, and is it Gina Davis, I think, and they're
Yeah, yeah.
outstanding. Yeah.
I know like a lot about the movie, but I've just
Yeah.
never actually seen it. But I must watch it because it looks really good.
And that was before Tim Burton made Batman, and Michael Keaton. You'd swear that Michael Keaton was like auditioning to be Joker for that, and then they were
Oh,
like, "Nah,
really?
dude, you're Batman." It's like, what do you mean? He's basically just a crazy, like, demented zombie clown in that movie. So like, I don't know, but I mean, Keaton was great as Batman, so it worked out in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
end. But it's like, yeah,
I kind of want to
yeah.
see him as Joker now. That would be awesome.
It would be, yeah, like like as an older Joker, I think it would be really good, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
also
you
wrote down
mentioned
here
Nightmare.
Coraline.
Yeah, yeah.
Coraline's really good. I said Shaun of the Dead.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and obviously like Halloween, like the original John Carpenter one. And I also wrote the 2019 and the 2018 revival, I guess, which was I thought that I really enjoyed that. But we'll get more into that later on. But yeah, I absolutely adore that new movie. I think it was very subversive and a lot of fun and just something like I wouldn't say it was scary, but it was very entertaining.
I haven't actually seen the new one either, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
I need to watch that. I need to get this list from you and just make my way through
Yeah, yeah.
everything that I
Go
haven't
for it,
seen.
dude. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I think for me, like some really good scary movies. Like I love The Shining. I think that's a really good
Ooh,
movie.
yeah.
It doesn't necessarily fit in like into the Halloween vibe that much, but
Yeah.
I think it is still a really good movie.
I mean, I
And then I
have Doctor
think
Sleep on this list, so yeah.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to mention Doctor Sleep as well. Like I think that movie is extremely underrated and it hasn't got enough praise because I think the way I think it was Mark Flanagan, I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, yeah.
The dude who did like he directed it. Like he managed to capture the vision of I think Stanley Kubrick's vision of his Shining, as well as Stephen King's like vision of The Shining in the
Absolutely,
book. You
absolutely.
know.
It
So
was
yeah, I thought it was
so respectful,
a great
but it
adaptation.
built its own thing, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good. I actually need to rewatch it. I've only seen it once. So
Me too.
yeah,
And the apparently the extended cut or the director's cut is like 20 minutes longer, but it's like really good. It's
okay.
like so I'm looking forward to seeing that, yeah.
I must watch that. Yeah, that sounds cool. What else was there? There was another one I wanted to mention. I think like it's is like so Stephen King's well the movies they're gonna
Yeah.
be kind of like a trend now. So I really like the first one. The second one not so much. It was okay, but yeah, it was a lot more like it felt more like a drama in a sense
Yeah.
compared to like a scary movie.
For
And I
me,
think that was a
like
point,
that's
but-
why I always defend it chapter 2 for those reasons, but I also understand why people don't feel the same way about it because for me, I never went into either of the It movies expecting it to be like a straight up horror, even though that's what it's marketed as, and I guess that in some ways that's the goal of it. But I more interpret it as like it's about fear. Like the theme is fear, not necessarily about the audience's fear, but the characters and them first being children dealing with that fear and then revisiting that fear as adults. So the second one was more about like it was almost like more about PTSD or like yeah, just refacing it as adults. And I think that the cast do really good, and I think that it's overall it's a really good movie. It is a little bit long, but
Yeah.
it's from like a story point of view, I feel like just as a story, if you're not going in for the scares, I think it's a really good movie about trauma and facing past trauma from your childhood. And in some ways, I feel like so it's like if you're watching the two It movies and and if you want to get scared, It Chapter 1 will It Chapter 1 sets your expectations too high for It Chapter 2. But if you're watching
Yes.
it with the expectation of it being like It Chapter 2, then It Chapter 2 will deliver more because yeah, it's like so. It's like I like to compare it to, which is why I loved that Cary Fukunaga was attached at one point, but he never ended up making it. He just executive produced the first It. Was that it? True Detective is kind of like a detective version of It, where it's like, oh, we didn't solve a case back in the day, and it haunts us, and it's like 15 years later, and now we have to come back and solve it, and we have to like think about things differently, and our past biases and our past hangups were holding us back, and we have to let go of that emotionally so that we can solve this thing once and for all. And that's how I feel about It Chapter 2 is like, this is all what it was building up to. The kid stuff was just setting up for when you grow up and you face your demons, you know, which is that's how I felt about it. Yeah.
No, 100%. And that's like going back to Mark Flanagan, who did Doctor Sleep. Like, I don't know if you've seen The Haunting of Hill House yet. I won't say too much about it, but
I
it's a similar,
have to see it. Yeah.
Dude, it's amazing. And it's a similar thing, like where something happens when people are younger and they have to sort of deal with it as adults. And it's really interesting. I won't say too much because you must just watch it. But that's another thing I recommend. Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor, which just came out. Really, really good.
They're not. They're spiritual successes, but they're not like they're not sequels, right? It's just they're different stories, but in the same vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I don't know, like they're almost like anthology series in a way. So some of the cast from the Haunting of Hill House are playing different characters in Bly Manor. So it's also like American Horror Story vibe. I haven't watched that, but I know they recast. Yeah, so it's really cool. And they're very different. Like I'm surprised how different they've been. But they still have like that Mark Flanagan vibe to it, which is cool. So yeah. Have you seen any of like the Conjuring films and Annabelle? Like I know those are also kind of trendy.
So I've seen Conjuring.
It's short if you have, and I'll talk about them a little bit.
I think we got some technical difficulties. Dan, can you hear me?
Can.
Oh, are you there?
I think it's my connection.
We're back. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No problem. So yeah, like I've seen Conjuring 1 and 2, and I really enjoyed both. For me, I have a weird relationship with horror because I didn't grow up with many horror movies other than like creature features like Jaws and Deep Blue Sea and Anaconda and stuff, which, you know, it's like, oh, there's a monster or some kind of, you know, animal that's like eating people in the woods. That's the kind of horrors that I grew up with. I didn't really watch many slashers or like, you know, haunted house movies or like, you know, paranormal kind of movies. So as an adult, they do have a different effect on me. So often when I watch certain kinds of movies as an adult, like they hit me in a different way. But so like where was I going with this? So like comparatively, like the Conjuring, I think they're really good as movies, though they've never really scared me. I just think that they're really well made. And I would even argue that in some cases I find them like darkly comic. It's just especially the second one.
That's cool.
Yeah. The second one it's got such a dark sense of humor sometimes. Like there's parts where I think in the second one when the mom finds the kids made like a Ouija board or whatever, and she's like, everybody, why are you playing with this Ouija board? And then suddenly like the dresser drawer like slams against like the wall, and they're all like, and then it just hard cuts to them running across the street to the neighbor's house, and I was like, that's so funny. They like in any other horror movie they'd be like, oh, we need to call somebody. Where are we gonna go? And they're all just like talking in their house. But in this movie they were like, we are leaving right now. This is definitely ghosts. So I thought that was pretty good. And I don't know, I find it amusing often when like especially after in the first Conjuring movie, Patrick Wilson's character says that the crucifixes don't actually like repel demons, it just pisses them off. So, and that's why they like turn the crosses upside down. In which case I was like, every time from that point onwards when a crucifix gets turned upside down, I'm just like, wow, you're just a really petty demon. Like, That's like if I walked into a room full of like, I don't know, like One Direction posters, I just like throw a fit. It's like, have some self-control. Like, you're here to scare people. You're not here to like turn over crucifixes because you're like OCD about it. Like, because it's bothering you. Come on. So I just imagine it almost like the demons aren't scary. They're just invisible characters who are just very petty nuisances. And it's like, you should probably, like, if you were still alive, I tell the demon to go see a therapist. Like, you have issues. So that's how I see a lot of haunting movies. The only time that doesn't apply is like Hereditary. Have you seen Hereditary?
Oh, dude, yeah. Bro, that movie actually legit creeped me out. Like, it got to me deep. Like,
that one
I was
unsettled me,
disturbed after
definitely.
watching that movie. It was really good.
Yeah.
Have you seen?
I did not take
Midsommar as well.
Yeah, oh yes, I have. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that was also really weird. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely preferred Hereditary. That was a good one.
Yeah. Me too. I do prefer Hereditary also. I think that while both are good movies, in my personal taste, I prefer Hereditary because I like that paranormal haunting vibe when it's done really well. But Midsommar, while done very well, is more of like the traditional, like, oh, it's a bunch of like students who go to a place and then they get killed off one by one, you know? So it's following a bit more of that trope. But even with Hereditary being like, oh, it's a haunting kind of movie or like a possession kind of movie, it does do its own thing to such a unique extent that it catches you off guard. I may just have a dark sense of humor here, but there are some parts of Hereditary that also amuse me to no end. Are we allowed to say spoilers in this? I don't know. Like,
yeah, go for it.
Okay, because like there's a part where
movie.
like,
well, not old, but yeah.
Yeah. When Toni Collette is she's possessed and she's like sawing off her own head, and the son is like like watching her. Like the act of her sawing off her head isn't funny, but when it like I think it pans or tilts away from her because she's like up in the air.
Yeah.
And it just goes and all you hear is the sound, and then it goes and then you just hear like a snap and then a like as a head falls, and I was like it's just a really amusing, like it's almost like a ba-dum like
yeah.
But the movie itself is really I don't overall find the movie like hilarious. I think it's like a really good movie that's actually very disturbing. I know the first time I watched it, when the hanging out the car window happens, that when that occurred, I paused the movie for a good 20 minutes and I just went and had a cup of tea and I just sat and I was like, whew. And that wasn't even like scary. It was just such a heavy tragedy that I couldn't deal with it. And like when Toni Collette is like crying over her daughter, you know, and her husband's like trying to like drag her off the floor, that just broke my heart. It's such a good movie, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, up until that point, the movie like was really good and it was pretty intense. But then, as soon as that moment happened, like the whole movie like just went onto like a new level. Like I was like, okay, this movie is like it's gonna go somewhere really crazy, and it does obviously. But yeah, that was a good movie, and it felt original as well. Like I think a lot of the time with these horror movies these days, like they don't actually feel that original. As you're saying, like with Midsommar, like it sort of follows the trope a bit. And Hereditary was like really unique, I thought. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Have you seen One Cut of the Dead yet?
Yeah. I haven't seen it, dude. I haven't found a download for it, like a good... well, okay. I shouldn't say that on the podcast. What? But I'm trying to find a way to watch it, and yeah, I'm very keen. I saw the trailer and it looks flipping insane. So I really want to watch it.
It's so much fun. It's like Shaun of the Dead mixed with like Tropic Thunder.
That sounds amazing. Like, both of those are great movies.
It's so charming because I would argue that once you like if you watch the first half of the movie, it's like a B movie. It's like a B horror movie, but once you get to the second half, it becomes like almost a family movie. But it's like you have to get through but both halves are really good, but after the cut. And then you're like, oh, and you see the context of it, it's like, oh, this is a really sweet horror movie now, but it's also like still fantastic and hilarious. But yeah, like I've watched it twice now, and I cannot stop singing its praises. Like it's definitely, because I haven't actually seen too many classic zombie movies. I've seen like newer ones, and then I've seen all the subversive zombie movies like Shaun of the Dead, One Cut of the Dead, The Dead Don't Die. And I think that's sort of where a lot of my preference for horror movies ends up being, which is like I don't go for the traditional horror movies anymore because a lot of them are very played out.
Yes, yeah.
So like I know when I watched the original John Carpenter Halloween, I watched it very recent. Well, not very recently at this point. I watched it in like 2017, for the first time, and like it was. I mean, it basically wrote the book on like how to scare people with that. Like, oh, it's a bunch of teens on Halloween, and there's a guy with a knife, and he's killing them one by one, and it's so riddled with cliches by today's standards, but it was absolutely original at the time. And so when I think about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is where all of those tropes came from. But all of those tropes are so built into my DNA that I couldn't enjoy it for the scares. I enjoyed it for everything else though. But that's why Halloween 2018 was so much fun, because it was like meta and subversive to its own tropes. So you said you haven't seen it, right?
I haven't, but you can talk about it because
have you seen the original John Carpenter one?
Yeah, but like ages ago. But I have seen it. Yeah.
So there's that iconic shot, which was like I guess one of the first times that you see it in a horror movie, where like the final girl, which is played by Jamie Lee Curtis, like she looks out the window after she throws Michael Myers like out of the window, and he falls like down 2 stories out of her house, and she looks out the window, and it cuts to her POV, and he's gone. And then you see like a low angle shot of her, and she's just like oh no, he got away kind of deal. And then in Halloween 2018, she and Michael Myers are having a fight in her house, which she's set with all these traps for him because she's prepared for him all her life to escape. And they're fighting, and then he picks her up and he throws her out of the window, and he looks out the window, and then she's gone. And then it looks and because he's just got a deadpan face because he's got that mask on, and it recreates the same sequence of shots, and it's like a low angle of him, and his face is just blank, and it's like it's just his mask, but he looks so terrified, and you're like, she got you. So I really enjoy that subversive stuff, but a lot of people don't like the 2018 movie, but I think that, I mean, I'm not too precious about the franchise, so I guess that may be why I'm okay with it, but I just really enjoyed it for all of its subversion, and it's also got a lot of really cool dark humor that criticizes the entire franchise on its own and the horror movies in general. So I really dug that.
Yeah.
And then there's like Cabin in the Woods. You've seen Cabin in the Woods, right?
Oh yeah, that was great.
Ooh, yeah.
With that movie, like I don't know why I necessarily enjoyed it so much, but there was something about it that I loved, and it's like its own thing as well. Like it felt, trying to compare it to like other movies, but you can't really either. Like it's its own thing. And I loved how it made fun of so many of the tropes, like Evil Dead, and there were other things that it was making fun of.
Yeah,
it was good. And like it wasn't making fun of it. I shouldn't say that. Like it was more like sort of paying tribute to it, but also I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but it was good.
I remember when I first showed it to my friend Brendan. He had I was like, Brendan, we got to watch Cabin in the Woods tonight. That was another movie. While we were waiting for Stranger Things to land that night on Netflix, we were like killing the time, and we watched Cabin in the Woods. And he was like, man, I don't want to watch Cabin in the Woods. It was like a bunch of teens go to a cabin and there's like a slasher. He's like, yeah, I've seen that movie. And I'm like, no, man, I promise it's different. And the movie starts, and it's just a bunch of like scientists like in lab coats, like having coffee and talking to each other, and they're like bantering about like their home life and what their wives are cooking for dinner. And Brendan's like, what is this movie, dude? What is going on? And then the fact that like I think the title's a jump scare, isn't like they're driving in the golf cart like through the factory.
Yeah, I think so.
And then he's like, "Are you even listening to me?" And then it just goes, "Wah!" And it just says cabin in the woods. And it's like, yeah, this is not the kind. This movie is not what you expect it to be. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I also, for some reason, I've always remembered this scene with the scene with the unicorn, and it's just like plowing through people, and it's just like blood and guts everywhere.
Yeah,
I thought that was awesome, dude. Like,
yeah,
you're never ever going to see that anywhere. It's like, yeah, that was a good one, actually.
Yeah.
Need to watch that.
Have you seen Garth Marenghi's Dark Place?
No.
Oh,
What is that? What is that about?
Okay, shout out to
I don't even think I've heard of that.
I was showed it's you know who Richard Ayoade is, right?
Yeah,
from IT Crowd and stuff. He wrote, directed, and he co-stars in this. It is it's a 6-part Channel 4 like British horror comedy.
Okay.
And it's about a guy. So like, imagine. Okay, so Garth Marenghi is kind of like he is an author, and he's sort of like a wannabe Stephen King. And so the show has like two levels of meta where this dude is playing Garth Marenghi, and he's like, "Hello, my name's Garth Marenghi, award-winning novelist and horror writer. You are about to enter my dark place." And so he talks about there's a TV show that he wrote, directed, and starred in, and it's called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. And so it intercuts with interviews with Garth Marenghi and his cast and crew. Plus, we see footage of this horror show, which is kind of like a Twin Peaks kind of ripoff. And it's so bad. It's the worst horror show ever. Like, the sound, the camera work, like, and literally to the point where it's so bad that the camera movement, like the camera operators, though you don't see them, are almost a character, because you're like, oh my gosh, the cameraman's like, his focus is off again, or like like he'll be filming somebody and they'll be like talking like this, like you won't even see them properly. Like, it's like that. It's like everything about it is bad. And so like there's like 2 levels of humor where it's not just an arrogant filmmaker, like a dude playing a guy being an arrogant filmmaker. The arrogant filmmaker is playing a character in his own show, and it's an awful show. It's so fantastic. And each episode tackles like a different creepy thing. Like one of the episodes is like they get haunted by like Scottish ghosts. There's a Planet of the Apes kind of episode where everyone gets infected and turns into like monkeys.
What?
There's like, yeah,
that
like,
sounds great.
It's fantastic. And then like every episode also he'll like Garth Marenghi, he'll have a prelude where he talks about like what inspired him to write this episode. And so one of them is just like, I tried to make an episode about some kind of subtext because political awareness is very important. And so he makes an episode about like the AIDS epidemic, but it's so on the nose, but he thinks he's being so subtle about it. And it's yeah. And they also just like reuse footage, like as if it like it's shot so like Richard Ayoade was interviewed about the show. Like, so he was interviewed about making the show, so a real interview. And he's like, it costs so much money to make the show look as cheap and bad as it does. Like,
that's incredible.
Like that they literally did not make a profit because the show was so expensive to make because of that. Like, I really wish there was a second season, but there isn't because nobody watched it when it first released. But it's classic, and Matt Berry is in it. Matt Berry from What We Do in the Shadows, the series.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so like I highly recommend it. It's like 20-minute episodes and 6 of them. The 6 of them only. So.
When did that come out?
2006. You know? Yeah, like a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of weird, like especially with series, like a lot of series from like 2000 to like 2008 or 9, like almost. If they weren't like big at the beginning, people just don't even know about them.
Yeah, like Community. Like, Community's only had a resurgence now because of Netflix.
And even like I would even say The Office and even Friends has kind of made like another trend back. New
Girl was like really good back in the day, but now everyone's watching New Girl. And Avatar: The Last Airbender is suddenly picked up speed again because of Netflix. Yeah, it's like if it's on Netflix, if it's not on Netflix, it didn't happen. I guess it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's true. It's weird. I guess it's cool though for the smaller shows.
Yeah.
To get that. Yeah. Sick. Are there any other movies on that list, or you kind of mentioned all of them?
It's okay. Well, so, like the last one on this list.
Any other ones you want to talk about? Else we can go on to the next.
Well, I said like Courage the Cowardly Dog is just fantastic for Halloween.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude.
Bro.
Yeah. A couple months ago, I went back and like searched like just random episodes, and I watched them back, and I'm like, I don't know how I watched this as a kid.
It's so scary. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it
phenomenal.
is good. It is good.
Yeah. And have you seen The Omen? The original Omen. It's really good.
Okay.
That movie also unsettled me. It's not like scary, but it's like it kind of got like a Hereditary kind of vibe, in that like just gets under your skin, and you're like, because like you know the plot though, right? Like this father believes that his son is the Antichrist. His like I think it's like 6-year-old son or whatever, and it's really disturbing because there is a part in that movie where it's not even meant to be like, I mean it's meant to be disturbing, but it's not like horrifying in like a physical sense. It's more like in a psychological sense where he's trying to find out who his son's true mother is, because his wife, because the movie starts where the main character's wife has a miscarriage, or like she gives birth to a baby. Her baby was stillborn, and he doesn't have the heart to tell his wife that their child has died, and the doctors or whatever are like, we have a woman who she died in childbirth and she doesn't have a family, so there's a baby without a mom, and you're a family without a baby. Do you want this baby? And so he's like, okay, we'll take it in, and I won't tell my wife. So he goes on this journey during the middle of the movie to find out who, like, once he starts suspecting that his son is the Antichrist 6 years later now, and he tries to find the grave of this woman's grave to like try and find out more about her history to confirm or deny whether his son is the Antichrist. And they uncover her grave, and when they look at her body, it just it makes my skin crawl so much, because it subverts your expectations to a point where I don't want to like overbuild it up, but you just don't see it coming, and you're like, what? And
damn, yeah.
I definitely recommend it. I haven't seen the remake, so I don't even know if people enjoyed the remake or not. I just know that the remake happened, but the classic Richard Donner version it's brilliant. It stands up to this day. I honestly feel it's better than like The Exorcist, in my opinion. So which is a bold thing to say. Yeah.
So in your opinion, like, so let me give some background to this little question here. In high school, me and my mates, we decided we were gonna go try find the scariest possible movie of all time, and we watched so many like scary films, like from The Shining to like the remake of like Nightmare on Elm Street to a whole bunch of other stuff. In your opinion, what is like, for you personally, the scariest like movie you've seen ever, and why? It might be one that you mentioned already, but
that's tricky because like I said, like horror movies don't hit me the same way that usually they should. Not to say I'm like, oh, I don't get scared. Like I get unsettled at times, but I think because I've accidentally loaded so much like information about like the filmmaking behind like horror movies in my head that I watch it almost instinctively from a slightly filmmakery point of view, where it's almost like, ooh, that is a very good shot, rather than, oh, that's a really good scare. So like, but I always make this joke, though I do still stand by it in my own opinion, that the most like terrifying movie that I've ever seen is not a horror movie. It's actually 8th Grade. Have you seen like?
Dude, that movie's just anxiety the whole time.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my gosh, she's gonna go to a pool party and all the other girls are prettier than her, and she's just in a bathing suit and she just feels so awkward, and I'm like, oh,
dude,
that movie terrifies me. It's just, I feel so bad for her. Like, it just makes me relive all the trauma of like school, and I did not like school.
Dude, that movie captures high school like perfectly. Like,
Absolutely.
I think a lot of the time Hollywood glamorizes high school a bit.
Yeah.
And I thought eighth grade was just a very true depiction on like what high school is in today's day and age. That's crazy. That's a good movie. We need to see more from what's his name?
Bo Burnham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has he made another film since then? I don't think he has.
No, he hasn't. No. I really want to see another one from him. Yeah.
Because that was a good movie, dude.
It really was.
I thought that was a solid movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sick. Okay, well, I mean, we're already like on 45 minutes here, so let's go straight to the Instagram questions.
Cool, yeah.
Let me get these out. Okay, so for those who are listening, I put on my Instagram story just like people, I requested people to ask questions, and these were some of them. So the first one is from Samurai Jack 28, and I think it's one of your followers.
Yeah.
He wants to know, will you be making False Jaws 3? And also give a background on what False Jaws is as well, maybe.
Okay. Hey Luke. Thanks for sending in a question. Thank you for being a faithful supporter of False Jaws. False Jaws is a little stick figure animation that I did on Microsoft Paint in 2008. And Dan, I lost you there for a second. Are you still there?
Yeah, maybe just start from False Jaws again, if you don't mind.
Okay, cool.
Just that part.
So,
sorry.
Yeah. So False Jaws is a little stick figure animation that I did on Microsoft Paint in 2008. I was 13, 14 years old. And it's this little stick figure animations. I was crazy into Jaws then. That was like when I first started watching Jaws. And I was already like wanting to be a filmmaker or something when I grew up, but I wasn't really sure how, like, I really wanted to make a Jaws movie, but I was like, what am I gonna get, like a little raft and like go to the beach and like film my friends getting eaten by like a toy shark? Like, that's impossible. So I was just like, let me just animate it by myself. So little stick figures, a little Microsoft Paint triangle, like swimming through the water, eating people. And that's what it was. And I made two episodes of it. They were like 3 minutes or 2 minutes each. And it was like scored with like pop music. Like, if I'm not mistaken, like the one of the episodes just has like Lady Gaga's Just Dance in it. Like, it's not like, it has nothing to do with Jaws. It's just like a dude getting eaten, but it's like, just dance, it's like, it's weird. And I really wanted I was working on a part 3, and I wanted to make it like a 4-parter, and then I guess in part 4, like, they take down the shark eventually. But like, school got really hard, and maths got really hard, and then I just lost track of everything. And then Microsoft updated their whole style of how Paint is laid out, and then I couldn't do the same kind of like artwork. Like, they started doing a thing where they would smooth the edges of the frame, so then the like when you draw with a pencil, like it gives a gradient to the stuff. And I was like, how do I draw the artwork the same way anymore? Because it doesn't look like stick figures anymore. And I was like, I gave up. But I do definitely, I'm glad that he asked that question, because I really want to do like a revival. I'm sort of like reboot the first 2 parts, and then maybe just make like an 8 minute to 10 minute, like just a short where it's the whole story in one video, and I'll release it. Yeah.
That'd be epic. I'll link
I don't know
the other
when.
ones down below for people to watch.
Sure. They're awful. But
they're good,
like, I don't know when I'll do it. Like, I've got a notepad full of ideas for the plot points and everything, because it is, I've been wanting to make it like a bit meta, more meta than it was before, because the original was also like spoofing Jaws. That's why it's called False Jaws, I guess. But I do want to make it a little bit more meta and a bit more like the humor, not necessarily make the humor more grown up, but I just want to update it from my sense of humor now. But I've got to find time to animate it if I want to do it properly. But before I don't know. I don't even want to give a date, but I want to do it sometime in the next 2 years. Like, I want to at least start making it, because it's always got a special place in my heart. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I love that it's on YouTube as well, and then it's had this like life of its own up there. It's awesome. Classic YouTube. It feels like a classic YouTube video, which is great.
I guess, I suppose to a certain extent it is, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And then the next one, this is from Beware, and he asks, "What do you think about the season finale of The Boys?" So I know you haven't seen The Boys yet.
Yeah.
I'll give a brief reply to this one. It was really good. I think season 2, was, in my opinion, probably better than the first season. And I think it also felt extremely relevant to the current times, especially like in America, I feel, from what I see at least. So yeah, I recommend The Boys. I think it's really, really good, and I really enjoyed the finale. Definitely sets up a third season, so keen for that. Okay, next one. This is from Chris, and he wants to know, what is the most underrated film in your opinion, and why? Do you want to go first or myself? I don't actually know.
I think you go. If you have any like, I made a whole list. I got it's a list of 3 pages of movies, so it's a difficult one. Awesome. Yeah.
So I'll start off for now. I went back and did like a Charlie Kaufman binge after watching I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen this movie, but Synecdoche, New York.
I haven't seen it yet. I have to. I gotta.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, dude. It's such a like weird movie, and it's almost feels like it's out of time in a way. Like it feels like a timeless sort of film. But that movie, like, I haven't stopped thinking about it since I watched it, and I don't understand. Like, I know it's kind of got its own fan base in the Charlie Kaufman community, I guess.
Yeah.
But that movie just blew my mind, dude. I thought it was excellent. So that's one of them. Trying to think what else. Do you want to go for now, and I'll get
okay.
one soon.
Like top of my list in all caps, Tron Legacy.
Oh, dude, of course.
Yeah. Because a lot of people do love that movie, but it's definitely underappreciated. It did not get enough love when it came out. And it's so famously like iconic. Like, I mean, Tron itself is like an underappreciated movie, but Tron Legacy was this beautiful revival of the series, and it's got its own iconic look and feel, and Daft Punk's score, everything about it is so beautiful, and so few people really talk about it, and it's like I wish more people knew about it.
Yeah, that's a good one, and I think hopefully with the third movie coming out, it'll bring more fans to the second and first film. I know so another one for me, I know like in the film community it's kind of popular, but like in the hardcore film community, but Blade Runner 2049 I think also deserves way more praise than it gets, because that movie as well, bro.
That movie changed my life.
Look, it's a bit long. Yeah, it's a bit long, I guess, at times, but at the same time, it was so brilliant and so captivating, and it looked beautiful, it sounded beautiful, the acting was incredible. It blew my mind, dude. It's one of my favorite movies.
So brilliant. I watched that movie, I think 4 times in the cinema. Like, it just...
Yo, dude.
I could not get enough of that movie.
Did you watch it once in IMAX as well?
I watched it twice in IMAX, once in normal 2D, and then I watched it once at the Labia. Yeah.
It was definitely been one of the best movies I've seen in IMAX. Yeah.
Absolutely. Gosh, Blade Runner 2049. I got one here. Lost River, directed by Ryan Gosling.
Is it? What? I haven't seen this, I don't think.
It's
when
so
was
good.
This
was 2015, I think.
Okay.
It's so low key, and it wasn't very well received by critics and stuff, but I thought it was like a really beautiful, like, it was like a modern like fairy tale like legend kind of deal. So it's like it's Saoirse Ronan's in it, Christina Hendricks, Eva Mendes, Ben Mendelsohn.
Sure.
And it's and it at the Cannes Film Festival, apparently that like they tore it to shreds, which is really sad. But I personally adore it. I think it's got such a beautiful atmosphere, and it's like it's about this this town, like in the movie they refer to it like lost rivers, or where they dam up a river, and so then the entire town in that, like where the dam is going to be flooded, like that whole town gets lost under the water. And so this kid and his mom, played by Christina Hendricks, are one of like only 3 or 4 families that still stay in this really rundown neighborhood. And it's all like overgrown because like everybody's left. Like the forest is like taking over. Half of the like valley is already like flooded. Like lampposts are like half underwater, and it's got this beautiful like imagery throughout. It like every shot is so beautifully composed, and this kid just he's just trying to like find a way to like I don't know, I guess like support his family or whatever. And like Saoirse Ronan is like one of his neighbors, and she and her grandma are like also, they haven't left yet. And the town is basically run by this crazy thug called Bully, who rides around in a convertible and just beats people up. And like he's like a tyrant, and he like attacks people with scissors. Like he like cuts people up with scissors, like he holds them down. And like it's really graphic in some ways. It's quite violent, but it's also like poetically beautiful. And you can see that Ryan Gosling was taking cues from the directors, like the really art house directors that he's been working with, like Nicholas Winding Refn, who he worked with on Drive and Only God Forgives, and like Derek Cianfrance, who he made Place Beyond the Pines and Blue Valentine with. And there's a lot of that in the film. It's beautiful, and nobody talks about it. It just makes me sad.
That is sad, yeah. And when did that movie come out? Do you remember?
2014, 2015.
Sure, because I mean, like, yeah, it must suck for like an actor to go into directing. I don't know if he's directed other films before that.
I don't know. Hey, I hope he directs again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Like, it must be so discouraging, like making a movie and then no one like praises it.
Yeah.
Even though it's like a decent movie, you know. Yeah, I must check it out because I'm a huge fan of Ryan Gosling and also Saoirse Ronan as well. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another one that I don't know my list with me on me right now, so that's why I'm like blanking out here.
Have you seen 10 Cloverfield Lane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the one that's like underground?
Yeah, in the bunker. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Dude, that was good.
I mean, like it's sort of like that, you know, unofficial half sequel to Cloverfield. That's not really a sequel. I don't want to get into the whole Cloverfield universe thing because I feel like that whole thing's a mess now. But I feel as a standalone movie, 10 Cloverfield Lane is a really good like chamber piece in a bunker. We're 3 people just chilling here and we don't know what's outside movie. It's so good. Nobody talks about it enough. It's so cool. John Goodman is...
Yeah, he's incredible
in that movie.
Yeah. He was like terrifying in that movie. I was like legit scared of him. And he's normally like such a lovable character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sick. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Are there any other ones you want to mention quick? Or
let me check some Phone Booth with Colin Farrell. So good. So good. He is so it's Colin Farrell. It's directed by Joel Schumacher. May he rest in peace. He passed away like earlier this year. But Colin Farrell is like a publicist, and he's like a really sleazy, exploitive kind of dude. And it's set in it's not set. It was shot in 2002 or 2001, and he's every day, Colin Farrell, while walking the streets of like Brooklyn or New York or something, he stops at one of the last phone booths in the city because cell phones are like, you know, becoming popular and stuff. So they're like he goes to one of the last phone booths in like that entire district, and he goes there every day and he takes off his wedding ring, and he calls the woman that he's like trying to have an affair with. Like he's trying to like get with one of his clients, but he's married. And this woman doesn't know that he's married, and so he's just trying to like, you know, get with her. And so one day he goes to that phone booth and he takes off his ring, and before he can call her, the phone rings and he answers it, and there's a dude on the other side saying like, "Hi, Stu Shepard, I know who you are, and I know what you're doing. And if you leave this phone booth, I'm gonna kill you." And he's like, "How are you gonna do that?" And he's like, "Look down at your shirt," and he's got like a laser pointed at him, and he's like, he's like, "I'm in one of these buildings," and he's in New York. There's like thousands of buildings, and thousands and thousands and thousands of windows, and he's like, "I'm in one of those windows, Stu, and I've got a sniper rifle pointed on you." And
Damn.
you're gonna own up to all the shit that you did, or you're gonna die. And the whole movie is
That
in
sounds
the
good.
phone booth. The whole movie's in the phone
Yo.
booth. Yeah, yeah.
That is
It's
good. That's
stunning. Yeah.
I love those sort of movies. Have you? It's not that intense, I don't think, as the phone booth. But have you seen Lock with Tom Hardy?
Oh
where
yeah,
he's just in the
dude.
car.
Lock is
That was also like
beautiful movie.
It's like a movie you don't think would work, but it actually
Yeah.
works pretty well. Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love Lock.
that's
yeah.
also another goodie.
I need to see it again. Actually, I haven't seen it since like the year that it came out.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times, but also ages ago. Okay, cool. So let's move on to the next one. This is, I don't know how to answer this because it's gonna like be a whole discussion, I guess. But Nolan versus Tarantino versus Scorsese versus Spielberg. I don't even know how you choose a favorite out of that. And it isn't even really a question, and that's from Edward. But yeah,
Yeah, that is. Firstly, what an awful question. How could you ask that question? I mean, it's a really good question, but it's also like, how dare you? Like, it's like which of your parents do you love the most? You know, which of it's like, yeah, I was gonna say which of your kids, but they're all older than us. It's like, you know.
yeah.
Okay, what you wanna lead on that one for now?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't have a favorite. I will be honest, there are a lot of Scorsese films that I haven't yet seen. I've seen like some of the classic ones, but there's a bunch I haven't seen, so I don't think it's fair
too,
for me
yeah.
to like. Yeah, obviously Tarantino is great. I love his style. I love Nolan's style as well. But I mean, again, they're such different filmmakers.
Yeah.
I think with Spielberg. Hey. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
so I
we
think
dropped out
with
there.
Spielberg, okay, yeah. So with Steven Spielberg, I think like he's made a few duds over the years, especially recent years. But his classic movies, they did so much for cinema. Like we were talking about Jaws a bit earlier. Like
Absolutely.
that definitely influenced a lot of the horror genre, in my opinion. Raiders of the Lost Ark was like insanely good. Yeah, there's a Jurassic Park as well. I mean, come on, it's iconic, you know. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to compare these directors, but I think they're all great in their own right. Yeah,
I agree, and it's like it seems like it's almost like to the person who asked that question, we promise it's not. We're not trying to like avoid the question, or it's not a cop out when we say when you say that, because it's just so difficult to weigh that up. It's not the same as like asking something like, which do you like better, like Indiana Jones or Star Wars, or you know, or Back to the Future or Jurassic Park or something. You know, it's like these are so like it's like a more fair contest would be like Tarantino or Guy Ritchie or something. You know, like get apples and apples.
Similar
You know,
style.
but these are all guys who are iconic filmmakers in their own right, who have changed the shape of cinema forever. And to put them next to each other is like saying like Einstein or Stephen Hawking, dude. One would not exist without the other. And it's but gosh, like I feel like in that capacity, like you cannot ever like Spielberg. Me and my friend Brandon talk about this all the time, but we say Spielberg is probably like the most popular and like most acclaimed, like greatest director of all time, and he's still underrated because it's like people don't give him enough credit. Like, yes, Jurassic Park is great, and yes, Raiders is great, and you know, Goonies is great, and everything that he's done. Like, he has such a brilliant track record. Yes, he has had some slumps, and you know, Hook isn't super great, and like, you know, some like BFG is a lot of fun, but it's, you know, it's a little bit like childish in my opinion, but it's fine. Like, it's fun. My brother loves it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think The Post is one of his best films like ever, and that's like one of his newest ones. He when you look at the percentage of good films to bad films, Steven Spielberg has made more good films than some directors have ever made films.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's insane. And he's still going. It's like,
he is a genius beyond like comparison. And then you get to Scorsese, who is like, I mean, in some ways, I'd argue like Scorsese and Spielberg are on the same level in so many ways. I think the only reason why Scorsese isn't like exactly on the same level as Spielberg is because Scorsese doesn't make movies that anyone can grow up with, because like nobody says like, oh, when I was 6 years old I watched Goodfellas and wanted to be a filmmaker, you know. It's like you have to be like 16 before you watch any of his movies, except for Hugo, I guess. But so you have to grow into Scorsese, but they're both of the same caliber, and they've both got such phenomenal careers. And Scorsese, I would say Scorsese has a few less duds than Spielberg, because Scorsese really does hit it out of the park almost every time. But he has made slightly less films than Spielberg, but they're both they're godly in terms of their level of filmmaking. You can't fight with that. You can't take that on. Comparatively, Nolan and Tarantino have a much smaller filmography, and it's a lot more carefully curated. And I mean, Tarantino is like he's working to wrap up his filmography now, but he has made such an impressive impact on the entire industry. He's changed the way that people write. He's changed the way people direct. He's changed the way students go to film school. And if Tarantino didn't exist, like, would there even be a film school? Like, what would kids copy if they went to, you know, it's like, you know, I'm guilty of it. My first script was basically just a rip-off of Reservoir Dogs, which I'm so embarrassed by now, but like Tarantino is that kind of inspiration. And the same with Nolan. Like, he defined the superhero genre, Inception, Interstellar, Memento. He's always pushing the boundaries of filmmaking. But yeah, like I feel like Nolan still has a lot more to offer, and I feel like Tarantino does too if he's prepared to go past his 10-film limit. So yeah, like I think that in general, it's like you're comparing two veterans to two like sort of newcomers to like they've just become titans. Because I mean, Tarantino's always been good, Nolan's been good for a very long time, but they've only just become like kings of the industry. But Spielberg and Scorsese have been titans since the 80s. Yeah. So, yeah.
No, definitely. No, cool. I like that. That was good. I think you said that really well.
Thanks.
Rad. Okay, last one for today. Best remake of classic films. That is from Caleb Jansen's. Yeah. What is the best remake of a classic film in your opinion?
Dan, I lost you there. I lost you for a second.
Or some of the, like, I don't know.
Dan, we've lost communication. Yeah, are you back? You're back.
Are you back? Dude, I need to work on this instant connection for next time. But okay, you're back. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so I mean, I'll start off on this one quick. I think the recent Planet of the Apes trilogy are insanely good. Like flipping, they're amazing films.
Just rewatched them the other day. They're so good.
Yeah. Like there's one scene in the third one when it's where Woody Harrelson is like slowly going, and you just look at Caesar's face as well, and then Woody Harrelson's face as well, and like both their emotions are so insanely good, like on their face, and one's like a CGI character, which is mind blowing still. It's such a touching scene. Like that scene has always been in my head when I think of that trilogy, and Dawn is like an amazing.
Dawn is phenomenal. That's my favorite one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my favorite as well, and so that's those films are really good in my opinion. What are some good remakes in your opinion?
So like I wrote down a couple here. So like off the top of my head, like I got like Italian Job and the Ocean's trilogy, like which were remakes of classic films. I haven't seen the originals, but I know that they were like they're iconic in their own right to the point where people don't even realize that they're remakes. But ones that I really dig, like True Grit by the Coen Brothers.
Oh right, which is that is a remake.
I would like. I mean, some would like argue. I think the Coen Brothers even rationalize this that it's they haven't remade the John Wayne movie with their version of True Grit. They've just readapted the book. You know, but when you compare it, like it's the same story that's been revitalized and seen through an entirely different lens. And I've seen the John Wayne one and I quite enjoyed it, but I did watch it after the Coen Brothers one, and I am way too loyal to the Coen Brothers to ever say anything bad about them. I love them so much. And I think that True Grit's a phenomenal movie, and I think about it all the time. Just It's like, I do not know this man. You know, it's just all the random like one-liners that Jeff Bridges says in that movie. It's just like, if he wanted a proper burial, he shouldn't have died in winter. You know, it's just so dry and like deadpan. It's phenomenal, and it's also just emotional and beautiful, but also darkly comedic in a subtle way. And Matt Damon is great in that movie, and yeah, it's just brilliant movie.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that. I watched that like when it first came out, and I haven't seen it since. So that's time to rewatch that one too.
You should check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other ones off the top of your head?
There was one I had earlier. So I mean, if I don't really want to count James Bond because it's sort of like a continuation, but it is in a way a remake. But I think the Daniel Craig films have been really good for the most part. There's been a few average ones, but Casino Royale specifically, I thought was like a brilliant. I think it's probably my favorite James Bond movie.
Yeah, Tarantino actually was at one point attached to direct Casino Royale.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah, because that's why it's so dialogue heavy, because he wrote a couple drafts of Casino Royale.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and then eventually he stepped away from it. Yeah. But he was in a rut as a filmmaker. I think it was just before he did Death Proof and after he did Kill Bill, and he didn't know what he was going to do with his career anymore because he had really wanted to do like a Star Trek movie or a James Bond movie or something. I mean, like, this is off the top, like, from my memory, so some of the finer details are a little bit fuzzy. But he wasn't sure if because he wasn't entirely sure that he was going to be the Tarantino that he is now, you know? So he was going to be like, maybe I'm just going to be like a really dope filmmaker and I'm going to like go on to do other things and I'll make a James Bond movie and then I'll direct some cool TV shows and stuff. You know, he was going to be like a more normal dude in the film industry. And so he was attached to do the next James Bond movie after the Pierce Brosnan ones. And so he was adapting Casino Royale, and that's why it's so dialogue driven and the violence is so sparse and precise, and it's secretly it's like a descendant of a Tarantino movie, because obviously draft after draft after he stepped away from it became more normal, but it like some of the foundation somewhere along the line in there, Tarantino was there for a little bit of his DNA is in there.
Yes, that's insane. That's awesome. I think other ones for me would be like, I also kind of feel like his films are a little underrated. The Star Trek trilogy by J.J. Abrams.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but I thought those movies like reinvented the franchise in a good way, because it paid homage to the original ones, but at the same time it felt fresh and new and unique.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially the third one, Star Trek Beyond. No one talks about that movie, and it was decent.
Yeah, it's good. Really nice. Yeah. I really like it. And who could ever get enough of like a Beastie Boys montage, like while they're flying through space and like blowing up alien drones?
Exactly.
It's just like, I can't stand it. I know you planned it. It's just it's crazy. Is this classical music? Yeah. Yes, it appears to be.
So those are good as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have any other ones there? Or? Mm-hmm. It's short if you don't.
I think that's off the top of my head. Those are the ones that come to mind. Everything else is like reboots and sequels, but like no like straight out remakes. You know.
Yeah.
No,
that's cool. Sick, bro. Well, I think that is that for today.
Yeah.
We've gone over an hour here. But, that was really, really cool. Yeah. Let people know where they can find you on social media if they want to check you out.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And dude, thanks for having me on. It's been fantastic.
No, it's cool. I'm glad you were keen for the first one as well, because I knew that you like have this wealth of film knowledge, and it would be cool to chat about it. So I think it went pretty well, besides the connection issues at times.
Yeah. Man, I'm looking forward to seeing all the rest of them, man. Like, when they drop, I will definitely be listening.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate that.
And yeah, dude, I look forward to every other video that you do. Like, I watch all your videos, dude. Unless it's for like when it's for all the movies that you've watched, then I'm just like, oh gosh, I'm just gonna feel inferior about the fact that I've watched like 7 movies this month.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But otherwise, dude, like when it's a review, I watch all of them because not just because I dig your reviews, but because I really dig your insights into the films that you talk about. So yeah. Just yeah.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Welcome.
Nice. So where can people check you out on social media if they want to know more about you or?
Well, I mean, I have my own
if you
YouTube
want to give
channel.
that out. So if you don't want to give that out, that's also fun.
I don't know if it's worth giving out because I'm very low key on social media myself. But like, if you wanna hear me banter with other film people, you can go to Mac on Movies. Because I mean, I'm like basically like a person with Haley on that, so you know.
Cool. And
that's on
YouTube,
it's mainly her views and opinions, but I'm there to banter with her. I'm there to like make jokes with her behind the camera. So
I'm loving those as well, bro. Those have been good.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, dude, that's that. And for everyone who listened today, thank you so much. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Yeah, and if you guys have any other ideas or any feedback that you'd like to let us know about, please let me know. Because we obviously want to make this as engaging and cool as possible. So yeah, but dude, thanks so much for joining. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll chat soon.
See you, man.
Sick.
Bye bye.